Here's the nvidia GTX 1060. I picked this up for $50, and I'm trying to find ways to cool it down. It runs not bad, about 65 to 77 degrees under a 1080p game. Idle temperature is about 40, and with the fan off. This has the silent mode, so the fan will turn off when it's not being used heavily. And we're going to go ahead and clean out this. I thought it was fine, but actually it looks not fine. It's actually hard. I can't even wipe it off. And then I was looking at the differences between the regular 1060 and the 1060 SC or superclocked. That one has a bigger heatsink here with fins that go all the way across, possibly thermal padded the memory. So I might see if I can find a better fan to put on here, because this is pretty basic. But we'll try the thermal paste first, and then I'm gonna see if I can maybe heat sink these guys. This is a 6 GB. Because I noticed when I try to overclock, I can overclock the GPU, but I can't overclock the memory, and I think it's just hot. So we'll try and cool that down. So looking further at the design, I noticed that other versions of this card have thermal pads that connect the heatsink to the memory. So that's something that we might try and do. If we could just get thermal pads in there, that way the memory could connect to the heatsink and potentially help it out. So it turns out that the fan on this single 1060 is a 92mm, and I had already upgraded the CPU fan and the case fan to a bequiet 92mm, and I was really happy with the results. So I was thinking, what if we put the bequiet fan in place of this existing fan and quiet it down a little bit, because when it gets into the 70-60% range of airflow, it's super loud, and I'm trying to make a quiet PC. And then I had another random idea, if maybe we could add a heatsink to the back of the card where the memory is, but I'm not sure about that. So here's the original fan out, and I put the bequiet fan on top of the shroud. I just wanted to test it first. Alright, there's the stock shroud. This is for the single fan GT 1060. Just comes off like this. There's 4 little screws that hold it to the heatsink. And what somebody was saying was, this design, when the air's being blown down, you can't really go to the side because this is in the way, and it's all just kind of jumbling around in there until it finally comes out there. And I thought it would just push all the air this way, but that's not the case. This is not fully enclosed like the newer cards. It's just kind of a holder. See, and there's these weird baffle things. So I don't know that all the air is necessarily going out that way. It's kind of going this way, this way, this way, this way. So what you might do is cut the sides of the shroud off and just keep the stock fan. But since we're trying the bequiet fan, and it happens to be about the same size as the heatsink, just gonna try that. No shroud. And then that way all the air can escape. Also, it's gonna be much quieter. So let's hook it up and see how it sounds. And here's the adapter. This will adapt the GPU fan slot to a standard 4-pin configuration. I picked up the split one because eventually there will be 2 fans here when I get the larger heatsink. So that's for future use, but it bolts right on. It doesn't fit in here well. It doesn't really click. I think just because it's cheap, but you get the idea. Listen how quiet at idle. Just doing a test fit, I see that the fan actually gets too close to the PCI slot, so we have to raise that up once we make an actual bracket for it. But I'm just going to do some temperature tests. But this is idle sound. The only thing that you're hearing is the power supply. These fans don't make any sound at idle that I can hear. And then we'll do a sound test at 100%. This is 60% fan speed while we're running Furmark. Pretty quiet. Now we're going up to 80% fan speed. That's 80. And now 100. So that is way quiet. The 100% fan on the original sounded like an airplane. So that's pretty good. These are, what was the rating on this? Airflow, CFM, air pressure. And speed 1900. RPM. So that's it, 100% fan speed. I believe, yeah. So I think technically maybe the stock fan flows more air, but I've never gone past 60% fan speed, so I think for me this will work. I prefer the quiet over the possible higher airflow of the stock fan. They do sell these in a 3000 RPM model. These are the 2000 RPM, so they won't go past 2000. And the 3000 RPM one is the same price. These are only $10 each on Amazon, so I'll link you to those. But for now, I just have to make a mounting bracket because it's on there kind of wonky. I used one of the existing threaded holes on the heatsink, so we're going to raise that fan up for the final mounting. But overall, for 10 bucks plus the adapter is 17, let's say 20 bucks. You can quiet down your system quite a bit if you have a loud fan. Temperatures are it's maybe 1 or 2 degrees hotter than the original, so that's odd. You would think that it would be cooling better without the shroud, but it's not under a heavy load, it's just a Furmark. So let's get it mounted better and see if we can get some better results. All right, so after all the tests of the fan directly to the heatsink, results were not great. Kind of the same, except for the fan was very quiet, which is good. So I just decided to put the shroud back on, put it back the way it was, but keep the Be Quiet fan, and have a nice quiet gaming card. Check it out.